In the summer of 1996, Gremlin Interactive and Interplay released the Saturn version of Loaded, a top-down run-and-gun shooter about framed inmates trying to escape a prison planet. You get a choice of 6 different characters to choose from, each with their own unique weapons and special attacks. There is cooperative multiplayer across the 15 available stages, and you can go back and play any stage at any time once it's been beaten. Loaded was released in the US a few months later in October of 1996, and the Japanese version was released a month later under the name Blood Factory. The engine on display here is both impressive and ugly at the same time. While the performance is all over the place depending on what's going on, I really like the light sourcing and transparency effects on display. The characters are comprised of 2D sprites, while the environments themselves are fully polygonal. The remains of the enemies are splattered all over the place, and it isn't unusual for there to be a dozen or more enemies on the screen at the same time. While the frame rate does take dips rather frequently, the gameplay is so hectic it rarely affects the fun factor. You'll be far too busy looking for your next kill. Loaded features a soundtrack that consists of many different types of music. Some of it is dark and foreboding, some of it is fast and hard, and some of it even has lyrics. You are bound to like something here, and I really appreciated the fact that you could adjust the volume of the sound effects and music independently. The sound effects are equally varied, and the weapon fire, explosions, and screams of your enemies all sound great. The gameplay of Loaded is as simple as it comes. It's essentially a glorified Smash TV knockoff that includes exploration, but don't let that fool you into thinking that this isn't a challenging or fulfilling experience. Things start out quite easy with you just exploring at will and shooting a few bad guys here and there, but before you know it, you are deluged with enemy fire, rats, dogs, scorpions, and a bunch of other creatures hell-bent on your demise. Stage variety quickly changes as well. You'll be battling in prisons, sewers, deserts, space stations, and a few other places while trying to make your escape. The 6 available characters to choose have vastly differing weapons, some of which include missile launchers, flamethrowers, and plasma cannons. Each character also has a screen-clearing nuke attack that differs from one another, some being more effective than others. Power-ups, ammunition, life, and other items can be picked up on the fly from destroyed crates in secret areas, and must be shared in multiplayer. The question of whether this is worth your time greatly depends on 2 things. Are you a fan of the top-down shooter, and how much will the performance dips bother you? I feel that the gameplay remains strong regardless, as it's plenty fast the vast majority of the time. There is a zoom feature camera option that does help the gameplay smooth out a bit, and the only real time things take a negative turn for the control is when you use your nuke attacks. Of course, different people are sensitive to different things, and if a buttery smooth frame rate is all you can tolerate, you'll be wanting to look elsewhere for your shooter fix. For the rest of you, the 15 levels, the co-op multiplayer, and the great special effects all make this one a must-play. A complete US version of Loaded can go anywhere between $30 and $70, but the PAL edition tends to be slightly cheaper. The Japanese release called Blood Factory tends to hover around the $30 to $40 mark. I have no trouble giving this one a recommendation to own. There are not a lot of games like this on the Saturn, and it has enough going for it to be a great way to spend a few nights, particularly if you have a buddy with you. If the price is still a bit too high, there was a version of it on the PlayStation you can get for as little as $20 or so. Either way, Loaded is a solid game for the genre and well worth a place in your retro library. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.